Hello bookish people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan. In today's video we are doing a massive book unhaul. I have 45 books that I am unhauling today. After this, I think I'm going to go to little free libraries around my area and drop some of them off. Some of them I might list on Pango books, so if you're interested in any of the books, like click the link down below and you can buy some of them. So yeah, let's just go through the books real quick. I have them all separated into piles so I don't have to repeat myself because there's like only a few reasons why I'm getting rid of all these books. So first, let's go through the first pile, which is basically books that I have read, but it's not that I did not enjoy them, but they were mostly 3-star reads, books that I will probably never talk about, never recommend again. They're kind of in one ear, out the other. So let's go into those first. The first one I have is The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight by Jennifer E. Smith. This is a YA romance. I read this when I first got into reading. Before the influence of before book talk took over my life, I was just thrifting random books at the thrift store. This was one of them. I enjoyed my time reading it, but I feel like I have grown and matured as a person. And although this was great for the time of my life I was at, I'm 25 now and I will never recommend or talk about this book again. So it really just doesn't need to be on my shelves. The next one we have is Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. So this book, again, it's another one I thrifted. I really enjoyed reading it at the time, and it's actually a series. And the reason I never continued on in the series is because I was waiting to thrift the rest of the series. Well, you know what? So much time has come and passed and I have never found another book in this series at the thrift store. I don't care enough to go out and buy the books. I mean, I guess I could borrow them from my library, but again, this is another like YA fantasy romance series, but like it's about werewolves and I don't know, it's just like so like 2010s, like I don't know, the vibes of this are off. Teenage Megan would have devoured this. 25-year-old Megan has no interest in continuing the series. The next one we have is The Assassin Game by Christy McKay. Another one, YA mystery thriller. Really enjoyed it at the time that I read it, but it's just the time is coming past, you guys. I'm 25 years old now. How many times can I say it? Yeah, the time is coming past on this book. Actually, that's like such a lie though, because there is YA books that I genuinely like, and I still continue to buy new release YA to this day, but there's just some of them, like the older ones, that just, again, the time is coming past. That's all I know how to say. The next book I have is The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling. Again, read it. I enjoyed it, but honestly, I will never recommend this book to you guys because I do not remember one thing about this plot. Like when I read it, I enjoyed my time reading it. I wasn't bored. I was enjoying it. I thought it was good. I rated it 4 stars. Whoa. I can't even tell you the plot of it now. I mean, like the basics I know about it is the girl, when she touches someone, she can see their death. And then she falls in love with another girl who's a vampire. This is a Fairy Loot exclusive edition, which confused me because I didn't know Fairy Loot did paperbacks, but I found this at Goodwill, so I was excited, enjoyed my time reading it, but again, I cannot tell you anything about it, so like, why am I going to keep it? Next thing we have is The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This was a recent read of mine. This book was so hyped up everywhere. It is a Reese's book club pick. It is an Apple TV show. It's like, why? Why? This is like the most mediocre mystery thriller I have ever read. Granted, the ending of this book I feel like is a little different from most mystery thrillers, right? But it was so mediocre. Like nothing about this book is special. Like it wasn't bad. Like I wasn't bored. I was interested, but I heard the shocking and the twists and the turns in this book, but like I was not shocked. I was not like, oh my god, twists and turns. Like it was such a standard mystery thriller. The people saying it was shocking and twists and turns, I think this is like the first mystery thriller they've ever read. The next book we have is All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers, another recent pickup of mine and another recent read. And again, the only thing I have to say about this book, it is such a standard mystery thriller. Like it's just, there was nothing special or unique about it. And this book, I would recommend it to people who are really interested in the JonBenet Ramsey case because this book is very like reminiscent of that case. That's what like the story plot line is. So if you like learning about true crime and you like that case, then maybe read this book. And it makes sense that this book is very reminiscent of a real true crime case everyone talks about because apparently Ashley Flowers is a true crime podcaster. So there you go. But like I just don't need it on my shelves. I'm never going to recommend it because again, it's just so standard. I can recommend you like a bunch of other mystery thrillers that I think are more shocking and really interesting, and I don't need to recommend a mediocre one. The next one I have is Funny You Should Ask by Lisa Sussman. I read this book and it was so hyped up on TikTok. I bought into the hype. I got the book, but honestly, I thought the book was okay. But it was a struggle for me to get through this book because I didn't really believe in the romance of this book, and I didn't believe the love that the characters had for each other. So if I can't believe in their love, I can't get in behind the romance. That's what the whole book is about. So I rated it 3 stars at the time, and I'm never going to talk about it again. The next book we have is The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. Now, I really enjoyed my time reading this. I rated it 4 stars, but looking back on it, I cannot tell you one thing that happens in this entire plot. Like, I totally forgot this book. Like, in one ear, out the other. And when the sequel comes out to this book, because it is a trilogy, I don't care enough to reread the first one, so like I'm not gonna read the sequel, so it's like, then what is it doing here? The next one we have is Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Another one that's it was just okay, this mediocre romance, 3 stars. The next one I have is The Bridgerton, The Duke and I, the first book in the Bridgerton novel by Julia Quinn. Now, if I continue the Bridgerton series, I want to not have these paperback editions. I want the Illumicrate version, so why do I need this? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna get the other ones. The other ones I'm just gonna borrow from my library or something and then get the Illumicrate version, so I don't need this. Also, too, this book has a very problematic scene in it, so like, if the other books are as problematic as the first one, like, I'm not even gonna get the Illumicrate one at all. I will just be done with the series. But I can't imagine they're all as problematic as this one. There's just one scene in here that I just feel is so beyond absurd, and I really hated the ending. But leading up to all of that, I really enjoyed it. The next book we have is The Cousins by Karen McManus. This is a YA mystery thriller, and when I pulled this off my shelves on Unhaul, I was like, dang it, I should have put this in my summer book recs video, because this is a book that is a mystery thriller that takes place during the summertime. It is a YA mystery thriller. So it's about these group of cousins. They don't really know each other because they live in different parts of the world, but they all are not with the world, but the country, but then they all come together to go to their estranged grandmother's island resort and work there for the summer. But strange things are happening, and it was actually a really interesting, good mystery thriller, but like, it's just, there was nothing super special about it where I feel the need to reread it or talk about it or recommend it, so I don't really need it. Again, there's so many other books that I want on my shelves. This one just doesn't make the cut. The next book I have is Faith Taking Flight by Julie Murphy. I rated this 3 stars. This is a, like, kind of, I don't know, there's not a sapphic, there is a kind of a sapphic romance in here. I don't know, there's LGBT rep in here. It is about our girl Faith, and she's obsessed with this TV show, and they come to her small town to film, and she kind of starts a relationship with the main character of the TV show, and with the actor or actress, whatever, of the TV show, and she also gets the ability to fly, and it was okay. I rated it 3 stars. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I wouldn't not recommend it either. If the plot sounds interesting, read it, but there's really nothing special about it. And then the last book I have in this particular pile is The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. This is a book I was so excited to read this one, and it just didn't really live up to my expectations for me. It's about this girl who finds out she's a witch, and then she goes to this like secret witch academy, but I just didn't necessarily enjoy this book so much. So yeah, I think I rated this one 3 stars as well, and I just, again, will never probably recommend it or talk about it again, so it doesn't need to waste space on my shelf. I mean, that sounds mean, waste space, but it's like, there's so many books I want to read. Let's just remove the ones I didn't really love. The next pile of books I have are books that I read and I did not like. So the first pile was books I thought were mediocre, they were fine. No, these are ones that I do not like. So let's start with the first one, which is a classic, and that is The Last Tycoon by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I wouldn't say that I hate this book. Like, that intro and then putting this book up first, I don't think really makes sense. This book was one of the very first books I read when I first got back into reading. I had no idea what book talk was. And I was like, I'm gonna be a classics girly, and I'm gonna be so studious and smart and read classics. I got this book at the thrift store. I read this whole book. The Last Tycoon. It's not that long. It took me so long to read it though. I did not understand one thing that happened in this book. Like, literally nothing that happened in this book did I comprehend. I watched the TV show after, because it's an Amazon Prime show, and I was like, wait, that's what happened in the book? And then I read a book summary and I was like, wait, when did all that happen? Like, my reading comprehension on this book was 0. So we're getting rid of it. The next book is a book that I DNF'd, and it was in my June TBRs. Yeah, I might be a little surprised to see it. And that is I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. I got 53% into this book, and I had to DNF it because I just simply did not care about this book. It's not for me. It's like kind of like Paper Towns, but make it like LGBTQ, and that sounds great. But the execution was not great. The difference between this and Paper Towns, which I will go into this in my June wrap up, but the difference between this and Paper Towns and why I did not enjoy this is because in Paper Towns, you have our 2 main characters. I forgot his name, but the girl's name is Margot, right? And you see our main man and you see Margot, and they go on this adventure together, and then Margot disappears, right? So you see their relationship together in the beginning. You get to know Margot as a character and you care about her. So when she disappears, you care about her and you care about the mystery. In this book, you're following this girl. I forgot what's her name. Let me find her name. Chloe. You're following our main girl, Chloe, and she is academic rivals with Shara Wheeler. Shara Wheeler is this popular girl. She has a boyfriend, whatever. One night, Shara Wheeler kisses Chloe. They have a little makeout sesh, and then Shara Wheeler disappears, right? But this book picks up after Shara Wheeler has already disappeared. So you don't see that initial you don't see the initial interaction between Chloe and Shara Wheeler. Like, you don't see their relationship before. You don't see them making out. You only see them when Chloe is trying to figure out where Shara went. So you're only getting to know Shara Wheeler through the eyes of Chloe, her academic rival, through Chloe's neighbor, and through Chloe's boyfriend. Not Chloe's boyfriend. Sorry. You're only getting to know Shara Wheeler through Chloe's eyes, through her neighbor's eyes, and through Shara Wheeler's boyfriend's eyes. So, like, you never get to know Shara Wheeler through Shara Wheeler herself. So, like, how do you care about this character that you've never met before? And the way they paint her, like, all these people paint her, are not even in the best light. So, like, why do you care about her? You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to make you as a reader care about Shara Wheeler and care about the mystery of finding her. So that is, like, the one thing I really did not like in this book. So yeah, it has a beautiful spine. I love the pastel colors of the book. Didn't work for me. I DNF'd it. Time to move on. The next author I have is one that I'm sure somebody will dislike this video because this author has tons of stans. This author duo has tons of stans. But I'm sorry, she just doesn't work out for me. And maybe I just read the wrong books by them. But it's not working for me. And that is Christina Lauren. These are the only 3 Christina Lauren books I have ever read. They're the 3 Christina Lauren books I own, and now we're getting rid of them all because I am just not a Christina Lauren girly. So the first one we have is Twice in a Blue Moon. I absolutely hated Sam, the main male character in this book. I thought he was absolutely terrible. The thing he does to the girl in this book, I feel like it's absolutely unforgivable, and yet she forgives him so easily. There is no groveling, and, like, even with his groveling, she should not have forgiven him. And he's not even, like, apologetic over it or, like, sorry about it. He's like, I would do it again. Like, I hate him so much. So 2.5 stars. I rated it. Okay, next we have The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This one is her most popular book, I feel like. Everybody loves this book. Everybody talks about this book. I was so excited to read this book. But this book is just nothing special. Like, the relationship in this book, I didn't really, like, care for it all that much. Like, I thought it was okay. Like, I didn't hate it, but I thought it was okay, right? I was like, okay, this is fine. Whatever, 3.5 star book. But then we get to, like, near the ending, or the ending, whatever. I forgot where it happens in the book. And the secret that this man asks Olive to keep in this book, I could not. And the fact that she agrees to keep it too, the whole situation, mind-blowing, and makes me so mad. Like, if that thing did not happen in this book, I probably would have rated it higher. But the ending of this book, I did not enjoy it at all. I rated it 3 stars, which I feel is generous. So we're unhauling it, and hopefully this goes to somebody who will actually enjoy it. And then the last Christina Lauren book is The Honey Don't List, which honestly, I didn't really hate this book. This book I rated 4 stars. It was the most enjoyable out of all her books, but it's not one I would ever recommend or talk about again, so we're getting rid of it. And the next pile of books are all the Book of the Month books I simply did not enjoy. Let's start with the first one, which is What Lies in the Wood by Kate Alice Marshall. This book was so predictable. I just, like, okay, so first of all, I listened to the audiobook and I thought the narrator was super depressing, and I predicted almost everything in this book, and I did not find it very enjoyable, so I rated it 3 stars, which, again, generous. Next, we have The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. I did not enjoy this book either. This is a Mexican Gothic tale. It's the first Mexican Gothic tale I have learned, and what I learned from the experience is maybe Mexican Gothic tales are not for me. I don't know. Or maybe just this book isn't for me, because people said, like, this book is great. Like, all the booktubers I watch have rated this book so highly, and I don't understand. So there's just, maybe this is just not my genre, right? There's nothing wrong with the book itself. It just is not my genre. I will say, though, if you want to play a drinking game with this book and you want to get blacked out and possibly get alcohol poisoning, take a shot every time the author uses the word stucco in this book. I cannot tell you the amount of times she's like, the stucco walls, the stucco building. I think she might have said it 100 times in this book. Other than that, I guess it was okay. The next book is The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. Did not enjoy this at all. I rated it 2 stars. It was so boring. And I'm learning that apartment setting books just, like, aren't for me. I didn't really enjoy this book. I didn't really enjoy Lock Every Door by Riley Sager, another mystery thriller that takes place in an apartment. And Other Birds by Sarah and Addison Allen, another book I didn't really enjoy, and it has an apartment-based setting. So apparently apartment place setting books aren't for me, which is weird. But I don't think it has anything to do with the setting. It just has to do with the books that are the stories that are being told. But, like, yeah, no, this one, not so good. Okay, the next one, The Verifiers by Jane Peck. This was a Book of the Month pick, debut novel, had an interesting premise. It's like literary fiction mystery. I rated 3 stars. It was I think I DNF'd this book twice before I finally finished it. So, yeah, did not enjoy this one. And the last one is Spells for, oh, and that's not the last one. We have another Book of the Month one here, because these books I'm going to just talk about at the same time because I view them as basically the same book. And that is Book a Night by Holly Black and Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. So these books here, both authors I have been dying to read books by. She is the author of the Cruel Prince series, I believe, right? That's her, right? And she is the author of Fable, which is another YA series that I wanted to read. I have never read either of their YA works that are super popular. They both came out with adult books. They were both Book of the Month selections. I read both of them and I both did not enjoy them. I did not enjoy both of them. And these books I forced myself to finish. And in my Megan 2023 mindset, I would just DNF them now because I don't have time for books that I do not care about because my TBR is too long to be reading books I do not care about. And the last book that's in the pile of books I did not enjoy is The Retreat by Sarah Pierce. It was boring. I didn't like it and I rated it 2 stars. Okay, now we're getting into this is just like a random pile of books I'm unhauling. There's only 4 here. The first one is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. The reason I'm getting rid of this is because it got destroyed at the beach and I thrifted a copy that's in perfect condition. So I don't need my destroyed beach copy because now I have a perfect copy. This book, I actually really enjoyed it. So like this is like the one positive light in this TBR. I feel like, not TBR, in this unhaul. I feel like unhauls are negative videos. So here is a positive light in the video of negativity. I really enjoyed this book, but now I have a better edition, so we don't need this one. There you go. And more positivity, another book that I'm getting rid of because it's a duplicate copy, and that is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I have it right here, the Book of the Month edition, and this one I actually picked up at the thrift store. It is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, but my shelves are too packed. I don't need 2 copies of this book, and the reason I never bought it at Barnes & Noble, even during their like 50% off hardcover sale, is because I didn't like the spray edges. I thought they were ugly, but I really did enjoy the end papers. Well, then I found it at the thrift store for like $2, like this Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. I was like, okay, for $2, I'll get you. But now I'm running out of room on my shelves, so it's time to make the exit, okay? So I love this book. I rated it 5 stars. I highly recommend this book, and I really hope it finds its way into the hands of somebody who truly loves it, because I just need to pass this on to somebody because, oh my god, it is so good. The next book I'm getting rid of is The Yoga Mind. This is 52 Essential Principles, a yoga philosophy to deepen your practice. I bought this during COVID when I thought I was a yoga girly. I am not a yoga girly. Apparently my yoga-ness only lasted the duration of COVID. As soon as the Florida lockdown was over, my yoga journey was over. So it's time to get rid of this. I never read it. I don't think I ever picked it up. It's kind of messed up on the front because I used it to put my nails on when I was painting my nails one time. So there's that. And the last book is Welcome to Dunder Mifflin by Brian Baumgartner and Ben Silverman. This is a book all about The Office, but like I'm never gonna read it. It's way too chunky and it's just too thick to have on my nonfiction shelf because I'm running out of room on that shelf, and since I'm never gonna read this, it's like why? Okay, now we're moving on to the last pile of books, and these are books that I have not read that I just have lost interest in. Like the time for these have come and passed on my TBR, and I just don't foresee myself picking them up in like the next 5 years. And if I can't see myself reading these in the next 5 years, then why do I own them? The first 2 are by a very popular author, and that is Frederick Bachman. So we have Britt Marie Was Here and My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. So both of these books, they give me A Man Called Uva vibes. So I read Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. I loved that book. I rated it 5 stars. I own the audiobook on Audible. I own a physical copy of the book. It is amazing. I really, really enjoyed that book. Then I read A Man Called Uva, another very popular book by Frederick Bachman. That one I did not enjoy, and I rated it 3 stars. These books give me Uva vibes. Like these are both following main characters like Britt Marie, right? She gives me Uva vibes. She is kind of like a Debbie Downer, and she's just gonna find life and meaning and happiness in the world, okay? Uva vibes, and I did not enjoy. And then we have My Grandmother Asked to Tell You She's Sorry. So it's basically, she's like another Uva, right? A grumpy old lady, and now she's dead, and she wants her granddaughter to go like find life, meaning, and joy in the world and tell everyone she's sorry. I don't know. The time has come and passed. Like, I love Frederick Bachman when I read Anxious People, but since reading A Man Called Uva, like if I have one bad experience with an author, it like really turns me off from their other books. So yeah, I just like, after reading Uva, I just never wanted to pick these books up. Next, I have this series, which I'm getting rid of a whole series that I have not read, but like, don't worry, I thrifted it. They were 50 cents each. There's 5 books, which means I spent $2.50 on the whole series, $2.50. And that is the Morganville Vampire series by Rachel Kane. I got excited and I thrifted it because it's a full completed series about vampires for $2.50. But honestly, am I ever going to read these? No. There are so many series that I want to read that I do not have time to read a 5-book series that like I only bought because they were at the thrift store. You know, like there's so many other series that I want to read. This one just doesn't make the cut. Okay, the next 3 books are all YA books that the time has come and passed. I'm out of my YA era, but that's not true. Like, I still buy YA books to this day, but specifically these books, the time has passed from my YA era. So we have The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yu. This one I've been wanting to read for so long. It has a movie based on it. It's won an award. But like reading the back of this, I'm just like, I just feel like it's going to be one of those, like, to me at this point, this is going to be a cringy YA romance. That's how I feel like it's going to be. So like, I'm just not really interested in reading it. If I read this as a teenager, probably would have devoured it and loved it. But as an adult, I just feel like it's going to be like one of those, like, I love John Green, but now as an adult, I'm like, cringe, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's going to be a similar vibe. Then we have American Royals by Catherine McGee. This one is actually has an interesting premise. It's like, what if Washington never was like, I'm president, and he just became king, and then we have a royal family. So this is called American Royals. Interesting premise, but like, I'm never gonna read it. I just know myself, I'm never gonna read it. And then the next one is A Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins. I really enjoy Rachel Hawkins, her mystery thrillers, and her pen name Erin Sterling, The X-Hex and The Kiss Curse, enjoyed those. So I bought her YA book at the thrift store, but like, I'm just never gonna read it. I'm just never gonna read it. I'm sorry. There's no point in my life in reading that. So we're getting rid of that one too. Okay, now we're getting into just the rest of the books. So we have The Last Story of Mina Lee. This one I thrifted when I was trying to build up my physical TBR, and it had the Reese's Book Club thing, so I picked it up. It has a pretty pink cover. But reading the synopsis of this book again, like, it's just not something I'm interested in. It's like a mother-daughter, like, literary fiction story. Just, I'm not interested. The next one we have is actually one that kind of hurts to give away because I bought this book at Barnes & Noble. I would say all these books, besides the Book of the Month ones, I thrifted. This book I actually bought retail. So it hurts to give it away without reading it, but like, there's so many other fantasy books that I want to read. And that is This Woven Kingdom by Tahir Mafi. There's so many, oh my god, this one hurts because like, there's so many YA fantasy books that I want to read. Like, why did I buy this one? Like, nothing wrong with this one if you enjoyed it, but like, there's so many I want to read. It's like, I don't want to read this one. And it's not that, like, what I'm learning as I get older is there is only so much time for books. So like, don't waste your time on the books that you don't really want to read. But I guess at one point in my life, I really did want to read this, but the time has come and passed. The next one we have is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Booley. This book, I found it at the thrift store, and I was so excited because I heard everybody talking about this book. I bought it without reading the synopsis. I read the synopsis, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not interested in that. I thought it was a fantasy book, but it's not a fantasy book. Not really interested, so we're unhauling it. Next, we have this one, which was a recent pickup at the thrift store. It was totally impulsive, and now I'm unhauling it, and that is Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. So the reason I'm unhauling this book is because I've heard very hit or miss of things about this book in general. So I was just like, okay, let me give it a chance. Like, you know, I like a lot of books. Like, I'm not super picky. So I'm like, okay, like, I'll probably like this one. But then the sequel, I've heard nothing but bad things about the sequel. Like, even people who love the first book do not love the sequel. So why am I going to do that to myself? So we're just going to unhaul it. I got it at the thrift store, but now it's time to go back to the thrift store, make it a full circle moment. Someone else can read it. The next one we have is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I bought this because, again, I was like, ooh, I recognize the author. It's under $5. Let me pick it up. There's so many fantasy books that I want to read. I want to read the Robin Hobb universe. I want to read like a Jade War, Jade Legacy, Jade whatever is else, or Jade City, whatever. I want to read like Brandon Sanderson's books, like, and I have the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin still on my shelf. So it's not like I don't want to read this author, but this particular book, there's so many others I want to read instead of this book. And the very last book that is part of this unhaul is The Night Ship by Chess Kid. It's actually blurbed by V.E. Schwab, which makes me do kind of want to read it. But this book, I never bought it to read the book. That sounds like so weird. I literally bought it for the sprayed edges. I thrifted it, I should say. I bought it for the sprayed edges because I wanted it to sit on my shelf like this, and for a while it did sit on my shelf like this, and it was pretty and it was a moment, but the moment has passed and I don't need the sprayed edges anymore because now I have a Fairy Loot subscription. I'm going to get beautiful editions of book coming in the mail, and now publishers are actually starting to make like really pretty first edition books. Like Fourth Wing had the sprayed edges, and I noticed looking at coming soon books on the Barnes & Noble website, there's more books that are having sprayed edge moments. So like, I don't need this one, okay? It's like, I know I only bought it for the edges and I don't need it anymore, so we're moving on. Those are all the books in my unhaul, so we're gonna go drop these off at little free libraries. Maybe we'll list some on Pango. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one. Bye!